is Maureen Lewis. I'm a retired teacher. Welcome to my channel, Marlowe Stories. Now today I'd like to talk about some of the things that the boys say. I grew up with my my great grandmother, my father's grandmother. And she was always saying things that didn't mean anything to me at the time. But afterwards I realized that a lot of them made sense, as I grew older. So from time to time I'd say to the boys, my grandmother used to say, and I didn't realize how often I was doing it until one day a boy looked at me and said, "Miss, you know that your grandmother talked too much." So after that I tried to keep it down, but it was very difficult. As I grew older, I found that I had to take more and more medications that were not just for an illness for a time, but chronic illness that lasted. So I had daily pills to take. But I remember this began around after the 2000s. I remember at one stage I just got several new medications at once, and I had a lot of problems adjusting to that. For one of them just made me feel like I was, when you're moving through water, I was moving slowly. So it sort of slowed me down a lot. And I had this particular class, and I taught them 3 days in a row, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And during that time, if I gave them work or homework, they always got it back before the Wednesday class. So after I started taking the medication, because I got slower, it took me longer to do my marking and all of that. About the second or the third time, I kept the boys' work over the 3 days. A boy said, "Miss, so since you start taking medication, you get worthless." And, I should have been offended, but I feel so ashamed. So I tried harder and stayed up later to try to make sure that they didn't have that to say again. There was other time, I was in this class. This one is rather silly, but I think they were just trying to make fun of me. We were talking about singing. For some reason, I knew of Sting, I knew of Police, but I couldn't understand why I got them mixed up or something. So I was talking about them, and the boys them said, "But Miss, are you talking about Sting like Sting and Police is the same?" So I said, "What's the difference?" I didn't realize. So one boy, they look at me and said, "Miss, Sting is one person and Police are two people." And all the boys started laughing, man, and I could not see what was so funny about it. Until finally a boy explained that Sting was part of the group that they call Police. So I wasn't that off, was I? So they didn't have to mock me like that, I don't think. Anyway, there was this thing with this teacher that I'll call Erky. Now he had a boy in his class named Garth. One day, Erky came into the chapel, because we used to sit with our forms in the chapel when we go to for worship in the chapel. And Erky came in, and Garth was at the end of the row, and he told Garth to go down to give him a seat. So Garth refused, and he insisted and said, "Go down, boy, let me get a seat." And Garth refused. Garth said it's his seat and he's not going to get up. Anyway, while they were talking, Mr. Erky realized that Garth didn't have on his tie. So he sent him outside and said, "Boy, go outside and put on your tie." So Garth refused. So after chapel, they got the vice principal involved. And so I was talking to the vice principal when Mr. Erky came to get him. And so he asked me to walk down with him to the class to see what was happening. Mr. Erky told his side of the story, and then Garth told his side. And he said he was not being disrespectful. But Mr. Erky came in and asked for a seat, and he wouldn't move. And all of a sudden, Mr. Erky told him to go and put on his tie. And he didn't move because he knew that Mr. Erky wanted to thief him seat. And so he decided that he's not going to get up, because he knew that when he came back, he wouldn't have the seat because Erky would thief it. And so, of course, all the boys in the class were laughing and all that. And the vice principal got angry with them and said, "Then if you behave like that with a male teacher, what will you do with a female teacher?" And the boy said, "Which female teacher, sir?" For example, Mrs. Lewis here. The boy said, "She, sir. We not mess with her, sir. She crucial, sir. If you do anything, she will stone you, sir." So, of course, I stood there looking as innocent as I could, because you know a story about the stoning already. But the last one that I'm telling for this episode though is about this boy named Nicholas. Nicholas gave trouble. He was a nice little boy. We all loved him, but Lord, little boy could get himself in trouble. So finally, at the last service for the fifth formers, he was in the fifth form, last service for the fifth formers. We usually stand like an honor guard at the end of the service, and the teachers would stand on both sides of the doors. And as the boys came out, would shake their hands and all that. So the vice principal, female vice principal, now was standing beside me. And when Nicholas came out, and I shook his hand, I hugged him. And she now, not only did she shake his hand and hug him, but she gave him a kiss on his cheek. Of course, our lipstick came off on his jaw. And Nicholas went around the school the whole day. Sure, you can't take him teacher, Watch her, watch her. Go, she come kiss up man and nasty up man jaw. Yeah? Look for my jaw. Yeah? What she come kiss me up for? And anybody you met who we could tell it to, you complain. He never rubbed it off, Come kiss up man and nasty up man jaw. So we know that he loved it, He sure he was showing off more than anything else, But he pretended that he didn't like it, but we knew that he liked it. So remember, I said that was the last story for today. And so until next time, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Bye.